Oh, hello. If you hear a noise in the background, that is my washer. Um, actually cleaning some stuff. Today has been an amazing day, so let's get to it. Abba is guiding me to the energetic portals of the body. And like he always does, he guides me into what specifically he wants us to focus on in order to receive and continue this year, because everybody thinks that it came in today, but actually was yesterday, because China was on the 17th yesterday. So we're like few hours behind within this portal. Now, I did feel the energy last night. I know what was done. Therefore, I was prepared for it. And one of the things that Abba is actually guiding us to is the energetic portals of the body and the emotional patterns, as well as the biblical metaphors from the KJV version. So I integrated the three of them. And also, I looked into the meaning of the fire horse in Chinese traditional medicine. Why medicine? If you guys see the post that Abba placed on our community post area, or that he asked me to write, it is related to how we have to nourish our bodies, which is the vessel, and our minds. And that is actually entangled with the emotions and the different energetic portals that we have in the body. So in Chinese traditional medicine, I searched it in Google, and it says that the fire horse represents a rare, intense alignment of maximum yang energy, combining the fire elements of passion and circulation with the horse's speed and independence. It symbolizes high vitality, creativity, and rapid transformative change. As I say, this year, if you have been trying to heal, felt that you didn't fit in, if you were going through rough patches, the transformative energy and the quickness, or the rapid pace that this is gonna take, is pretty overwhelming if you're not prepared. So I think Abba is trying to prepare us for what is to come. It says it risks overstimulating the heart and the spirit, potentially causing burnout, anxiety, or insomnia. I already went through all of this ahead of time. And the reason, what I understand, that I went through all of this burnout, overstimulating of the heart, the spirit, the anxiety, and the insomnia, was because Abba was the seeds of what was to come. So I will have the ability to allow you guys to understand how to prepare your bodies to actually cope with the energy of this year. Because if you don't know how to prepare your body and cope with the energy of this year, it's going to take you by surprise, and it's going to hit like a ton of bricks. And trust me, I went through it, and it's pretty overwhelming. So, the heart and Shen regulation. Fire governs the heart, which houses the Shen spirit. High fire years require nourishing the heart to avoid emotional volatility, relentless and racing thoughts. Balancing summer energy. The year can feel like constant summer, solstice energies, necessitating conscious cooling and grounding to avoid burnout. Physical health, focus on circulation and the heart health. Excess fire may manifest in inflammation, high blood pressure, or disturbed sleep. Health and wellness strategies. Nourishment. Consume cooling yin nourishing foods such as cucumber, spinach, and clear broths to balance excessive fire. Try to avoid lychees, please. Calm the mind. Practice Qigong, Tai Chi, or meditation to keep energy moving without overstimulation. Rest and routine. Prioritize sleep and avoid overscheduling to manage the intense pace of the year. Hydration. Stay hydrated to support bodily systems during a high energy active year. The reason why Abba was pointing me to the different energetic portals of the body is because you need to be in alignment. And those portals need to be open, but also in alignment. And the reason why I think I went through it beforehand was to be able to find the stones, the teas, and the things that will actually help you this year to actually receive the energy of the fire horse without affecting your personal body, because everything is regulated by your bodily systems: the liver, the gut, the lungs, the heart, etc., etc., kidneys, whatever. The crown gate, revelation and orientation. Emotional patterns, clarity versus confusion, trust versus existential fear, openness versus spiritual numbness. The biblical metaphor: the entrance of thy words giveth light, it giveth understanding unto the simple. And you can find this on Psalm 119. The crown is the entrance of the light, the place where understanding breaks through. So if your mind is confused and is actually pending to all the noise of the external, somebody doesn't want me to speak, and as I always say, I don't care how many times I have to clear my throat, this message is coming out. That's why I got my water. The crown. Okay. So you can work with meditation, but also you can work with healing stones. And the reason why you want to use healing stones is because the energy of the fire host is going to be way too heavy for you to actually try to clear it on your own, unless you're trained and had gone through kind of an awakening in order to be sovereign and understanding projections, so you're not affected by them, because this year they're gonna come 10x. The brow gate, or the eye of the spirit, which is connected to the pineal gland, it's actually sight and discernment. The insight versus denial, discernment versus projection, vision versus tunnel perception. Biblical metaphor: if therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Matthew 6, KJV. This portal governs the single eye, which is the pineal gland. If your pineal gland is calcified, it will, like, this year will push it into breaking open. The decalcification of the gland will come, and also can be a little bit unbalancing and a little bit difficult, because you need to understand discernment by understanding projections. And if you have not worked with your shadows, you're not going to understand it. And you're all year long going to feel offended by everything that people say out there. Now, when you understand that it's a projection of a person that felt, I don't know, bothered by something you said, then you can just stop engaging. Now, insight means that you're able to see the factors with discernment about all your surroundings, and you're not going to be in denial anymore. The vision versus tunnel perception. Vision is the clarity of mind that comes with the connection through spirit. Tunnel perception is your indoctrination. Everything that is cultural based, religious based, political based, perceptive based of your experiences. If you're not able to integrate your shadows this year, everything is going to be focused tunnel perception. So if you are not aware of that, then whatever happens in the world is going to affect you twice as hard. Even more, can be up to 7 times higher. And the reason why you have to be prepared is because the fire is so strong that affects the circulation. Therefore, if you don't have good discernment, good vision, and good alignment and insight, and stop being in denial, stop projecting, or stop being tunnel perception, then you can actually affect your heart rhythm. You can affect your health. So it's very important that you guys listen to this message. If you are listening to it, please share it. Not everybody's aware of this. And a lot of people do not believe in these things. But this is a message from above. I don't even know this information. I know I went through the whole process a few years ago. So I would be ready for this year. But the reason behind it was probably to be able to warn everyone out there that is part of the 144s. The mouth and tongue gate, expression and resonance. Have you guys seen how many times I have to clear my throat? And the reason why is forces will always try to silence you. Whatever is not in alignment with Abba and alignment with unconditional love is always gonna try to silence you. Some people say that silence is wisdom, and silence is wisdom when you're speaking lies. But when you're speaking the truth and you're speaking about how you're learning this truth, it becomes something that will help everybody out there, even the 144s, to understand how to be in alignment and sovereign, so you guys can go through the year of the horse without affecting your health. So the mouth and the tongue gate are gonna be pretty open this year. Whoever is called to the mission will be opening their voices. There's gonna be an immense amount of prophets directly guided by Abba. They are going to be saying things in his name for his people. But there's also going to be another side of false prophets that are going to try to push you back into indoctrination. So it's your responsibility to clear your indoctrination, cultural behaviors, and political views into understanding, because you have to express yourself sovereignly. And expressing yourself sovereignly means staying away from calling out things with your voice that will manifest havoc in your life. So it's very important that you understand these emotional patterns about the mouth and the tongue gate. Truth versus self silencing. Integrity versus people pleasing. Expression versus repression. If you practice saying the truth, regardless of how bad it looks out there, it's better to be honest and authentic than to become a liar. Self-silencing yourself to appease others falls into people pleasing, and you need to stop doing that because you need to know your shadows so you can be confident and secure in yourself. Integrity versus people pleasing. So I'm not gonna deviate my alignment and my compromise with the mission and the vision of Abba just because someone wants to live in a life that is not in alignment with what Abba is asking us to do. So my integrity is within the compromise that I make myself with the mission and the vision he expressed. But your integrity could be not allowing others to deviate you from focusing on having strong barriers of love so you don't fall into people pleasing. If not, it's going to be a very heavy year. Expression versus repression. Expressing yourself doesn't mean that you have the right to say whatever you want and offend people. It means that you have the right to express yourself from a space of love. And if the person doesn't understand you, you cannot force your truth to anyone. Repression means that you just shut up because that person tells you to shut up. Therefore, you stop being authentic to your experiences. This is not a place for, and trust me, I've been there. This is not a place for always complaining, always being the naysayer, always thinking negative, backwards. It's a place where you have to learn to express yourself with coherence because you need to be aligned so you don't repress yourself from saying the truth of your heart, not your mind or your ego, your heart. People that live with an open heart towards the gate of this year are going to be able to create abundance because they're going to know how to use this energy. That's why Abba has been asking us to cleanse not only the body, the mind, and the soul, but the whole entire energetic system, because it's the only way that you can use the yang energy of this specific year to actually build your empire within the mission of your purpose in life. That means if you have a partner that doesn't allow to express yourself and he represses you or she represses you from being authentic and true to what your heart calls you to do, which could be art, poetry, singing, playing an instrument, whatever in the arts it's related to you, whatever in service is related to you, you need to put strong boundaries and allow yourself the right of being true to yourself and authentic, because you need to express yourself in any kind of art that you're good at. Biblical metaphor for this one is death and life are in the power of the tongue. Very simple. If you say something negative, this year is a triple boomerang. It's gonna come back and it's gonna hit you in the face pretty badly. And the reason why I went through this few years ahead is because I understand it and I can express that what he's showing to me is specifically what you have to do that I didn't know how to do it in the past. I had to investigate it little by little. That's why today, when he brought the energy into my mind, I was like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. We're talking about the chakras, we're talking about this and that. And I started searching how was it connected to the fire horse meaning of the year of the calendar, of the Chinese calendar 2026. So let's move to the heart gate. And this one, people, is very important. If the fire horse is gonna bring a lot of issues with your circulation and your heart, having a balanced diet is a must. It's not a game, it's a must. It has a lot to do with CV19, but I'm not going to mention it. But you need to cleanse your body. There's no way out of it. The heart gate, coherence and compassion. And if your heart is feeling resentment, grudges, anger, and it's not in alignment with unconditional love, then you're suppressing yourself from being true and authentic to yourself because you're not expressing your true love. This is the year that you have to make that shift. Regardless if you think that you're going to be rejected, regardless if you think that you're going to be abandoned, you need to step into your power and not hold back. If you hold back, it's gonna be automatically another symptom that will actually enhance based on the energy of this year. So this year is not for you to set back. Now, I'm not talking about go ballistic and bombard somebody. Been there, done that, because of my anxiety and my PTSD. But this is a year to truly speak from a place of love and not a guardedness. So if you speak from a place of love, even if you speak like I speak, which is with a very imperative tone, I'm speaking with all my heart. I want you guys to be safe. I want you guys to be healthy. I want you guys to take advantage of the yang energy of this year and make all your dreams come true. But if you don't know how to, then you're going to be in a cycle of repetitive patterns. And it is for your best well being that you understand any kind of resentments, any kind of pain, any kind of fear, any kind of anything that you're going through needs to actually go. No guardedness, no numbness, no resentment. You need to be free of those. How you're going to do this when it's so difficult because the ego is allowing you or asking you not to let go of your grudges? It's very simple, people. I've already expressed it in my past lives. The only reason why we do not forgive another is because we don't understand unconditional love. Unconditional love means that I see a projection in another and I don't take it as a personal offense. I understand that person is the one hurting and not me. Because if I am not hurting, therefore, whatever they're saying cannot hurt me. But if I am grieving inside, if I am numb inside, if I am in guardedness, I'm in resentment, or I'm anywhere in the wrong side of the sanctuary, then what's going to happen is whatever I hear is going to feel like a rock in your head. So you need to understand two things. Your shadow will be reflected on the mirrors that you find in front of you. Those mirrors are not people that purposely I'm coming for you. They're not coming for you. They're just people that are hurt, that in this year they're going to feel even worse. Therefore, you need to listen with the eyes of love and the eyes of spirit. We're not saying that we're going to agree to be disrespected. But instead of reacting to the disrespect, instead of engaging with that disrespect, we're going to know our value. We're going to know where we're standing. And this is a very triggering point. And as I always tell everyone, if you're getting triggered, it's because you haven't worked with your heart. You haven't worked with your grief. You haven't worked with your compassion. You haven't worked with your love. You still guarded, numb, and resented, or with resentments or holding grudges. So it's very important that you understand compassion doesn't mean that I'm going to do the work for another because I'm going to sacrifice myself for anyone. That is the lie that indoctrination has sold to you. And trust me that I was there. All my life, I became a people pleaser because I thought that turning my cheek was accepting people even though they were disrespecting me. And that is not the truth. The truth is that the reason why I did that was because I was indoctrinated into being a sacrificial lamb, and the only lamb that was sacrificed is Jesus. That's why he's the way and the path. And I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but his walk in the Bible is a blueprint for you to master alignment and master your sovereignty. And what they call the armor of God means that every single organ in your body is working with you to create. And if you want to create abundance, you cannot create abundance from a guarded heart, a numb heart, or with resentments or anything that holds any type of grudges or any type of things that can make you sad. And being honest, when we live with depression or we live with anxiety, depression is thinking about the past, and that means that you're not able to let go of the past because you felt hurt personally. When you understand projections, you know that that person didn't do it for you, like to you, but for you to understand where you let yourself be lost in a relationship, a friendship, or whatever it was. It's not for you to take it against anyone. It's for you to actually cleanse yourself from carrying that cross that is not yours to bear. It's very important that you understand that. The other part that you need to understand is the following. If somebody has been surrounded with people of low frequency vibrations, has been not taking care of their vessel and having different relationships, which are not regular relationships, but you know what? Relationships with other people, and those people may be carrying a low vibrational entity like an incubus and a succubus. Whoever is talking to you is not the person, is the spirit. Therefore, staying away from any type of inhibitors is main this year. Recreational stuff is used by shamans to actually take you into a journey. I highly do not recommend it this year if you do not have a cleansed body. If your vessel is not cleansed and you try to do that, it's not going to go well, because this year's energy in the yang position, it's going to be imperative. And let me check something. Let me check something very quick about the yang energy. Give me one moment. Let me check what is that energy in the body, because Abba is guiding me to that. Google says that yang energy in the body represents the active, warm, metabolic, and upward moving functional aspects of life, acting as a fire that fuels circulation, digestion, and immunity system. And again, CV19, That came to mess up your kidneys and came up to mess up your liver, etc., etc., etc. Therefore, if you don't cleanse your body, use magnesium, zinc, and those natural stuff, then if you don't walk, if you don't exercise at least a little bit every day, 5 to 10 minutes, if you can do qigong, you can do tai chi, you can do anything that is related to moving the energy, you will be feeling better. Also, a lot of yoga and meditation. If you can do long poses instead of short poses, and work more with the breathing, I highly recommend that. All right, so the biblical metaphor for the heart gate, which for me is the most important of them all on this year, it's a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. You see, like whenever with your heart in your hands, you speak with love, coherence, and compassion, instead of being in a guarded place or numbing yourself to forget the grief or resenting others for what they speak of their mouth, then you're not going to feel the medicine, which is the honey and milk that Abba has for you when you understand projections. So I'm going to put an example. Someone projects on you and they call you a name. And that name is something that you actually feel to your heart. In my case, I was overweight all my life. I was chubby all my life. I was a size 12 when everybody should say that I should be 8 or 6 or 1 or 0, whatever. So I always thought I was extremely overweight. And then I had an accident and I had to go through surgeries, and they used a lot of steroids in my body, which gave me a lot of diseases. When I asked Abba to heal me, he actually placed me in a space where I had to go through a lot of therapy for the back. When I went through that therapy, it resulted that they had to do a surgery. Whatever could go wrong in the surgery went wrong, even when I had a positive mindset. Then the doctor tells me I was going to end up in the wheelchair. And I looked at him and I say, I am not. And he looked at me and he's like, well, I'm the doctor. And I'm like, yeah, but I understand that people out there are doing like this surgery, which is like the bariatric surgery for like aesthetics. Do I qualify as a patient so I don't lose my mobility? And then he said, oh, I never thought about it. And we end up doing that. When I recovered from that, and I recovered from all the problems that I was having, I came up into a place where a group of people decided to use harsh words in order to, I guess, kill my confidence, because I was speaking like I speak, very, very sure of what I was saying because I knew it came from Abba. Obviously, since I was just living a life with a new body, I still had a heart that was a little guarded. I started going back in time, remembering my childhood and understanding that everything that was happening for a reason. And the reason why it was happening was because Abba wanted me to clean my heart. So in the biblical metaphor, it says, creating me a clean heart, O God. I ask Abba to show me the truth behind spirituality, because I could not understand the dissonance that temples and religions and other practices in this world worked. I wanted to understand from a spiritual standpoint humanity, because I was feeling sad about humanity being lost. And therefore, I was not seeing how I, with my own voice, was actually falling in the trap of the matrix. How would I explain this? In the moment that I felt that I was accused of things that I didn't do, I automatically started defending myself because I was in a defensive mode. When I start defending myself and I start seeing that I'm speaking about Abba, I'm speaking about the spiritual path, I'm speaking about how to peel the onion and go through the layers of your emotions, and so you can actually mature them. And then from a sudden, boom, bam, boom, all the hits come from everywhere. And I automatically fell into what we all humans do, which is defending ourselves. Number one, in the moment that you open your mouth to defend yourself, you lost the battle. Why? Because if you know it's not truth, why are you defending yourself? You don't need to defend yourself if you know that what another person is saying is a lie. So I fell for the gimmicks, right? I didn't know why, and then I understood. Obviously, whoever was that group of people, they were after my energy. They were after my gifts. And these are gifts of the spirit that are a mission with Abba. And whoever comes for them, it's going to suffer the consequences, regardless of who they are, or what they think they're doing. Now, ignorance is a bliss. I was very ignorant in the spiritual aspect of seeing humanity from his eyes. So I didn't understand why it was happening. And that made me a little sad. Made me sad because it made me lose hope in humanity. But then I realized it is not humanity the problem. The problem is indoctrination. The problem is politics. The problem is our education. They're actually steering us away from the arts, which automatically kills the creativity. They started using fluoride in the ice, which automatically calcifies your pineal gland. And there's not enough time in the day for anyone that has to either go to study, go to work, come back home, prepare your meal, do this, do that, and living in that cycle that was created to keep us in a loop that will push you into actually working on your arts, knowing that your arts can get you somewhere if you work with them with a purpose for the mission of helping others heal what they don't understand. So in that moment, I understood that I was not understanding something. So what I did, obviously, it hit me hard. Therefore, apparently, they discovered I had PTSD. When they discovered that situation, I had to focus on myself. I always choose myself, not because I'm selfish, because I understand that if I have a condition, no one else is responsible for the ways that I act or react about my condition. And at that moment, when I learned I had that condition, I said, before I keep on hurting people by being defensive or being argumentative or being a person that was try to defend myself like a turtle upside down, not being true to my heart, I said, I prefer to go into hermit mode, practice love for myself, and understand where am I falling short on seeing humanity like Abba sees humanity. So I did a prayer, and the prayer asked for him to open my heart enough for me to understand the truth behind humanity and love, unconditional love, not partnership love. That is something that comes after. And what he told me was that we humans are so used to feel everything as a personal attack that we forget about the different spirits that can be populating the psyche or the body of another person. He also explained to me about the parasites from animals, from food or whatever that live in our body, that actually in a certain way in they actually kind of, how can I explain it? So when you have parasites, right, that parasite is gonna govern a specific craving, a craving for sweets or whatever. And then that parasite, because that's why it's a parasite, it lives from you, from your body, is the same in the spirit. There are parasitic spirits that want to live from your energy and want to live from your solar plexus and want to live through all of that. Therefore, you have to be careful with who you share your body, being honest. And we spoke about sexual energy yesterday. If you want to go there and check that live, it's very important that you understand it, not because you have to be a saint, but because you have to take care of your body. You have to take care of your vessel, because if you don't, then these parasites will drain you. Not only drain your energy, but in this here, your money is going to drain like water if you are not aware of it. So please go to the past life, check it out, try to understand it. If you don't, you can put comments in there and I'll try my best to reply them. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Psalm 51. The heart is the portal of purification, coherence, and the emotional medicine you need to heal yourself of anything. I want you guys to understand it. You want to heal yourself of anything, got to start with your heart. Because if you heal your heart, you're going to have balanced emotions. If you have balanced emotions, you're going to have balanced organs. If you start having balanced organs, your body's going to function exactly how it needs to function. Therefore, the yang energy that's going to come is not going to hit you as hard. The solar plexus gate, let's move to that one. It's will and identity, emotional patterns, confidence versus shame, autonomy versus control, boundaries versus collapse. So you just heard my story, right? I felt ashamed for reacting because I felt hurt of hearing the way people was being mean. That means I didn't have my confidence in the place that it should be, because I just lost the weight and I didn't feel like that was my normal body, right? I was not accustomed to receiving, let's say, compliments about my body, compliments about anything that came related to it. Therefore, I started feeling ashamed for just being myself. Autonomy versus control. I started trying to control things because I was scared, because I didn't understand what was going on. So when I started having to control things, I understood there was a part of indoctrination that was helping me. Well, not helping me, but was making me misunderstand the mission that Abba had in his heart all the time, and the mission that he actually helped me with to get where I am today. Because now that I have autonomy over my body, over my mind, over my emotions, by understanding projections, spirits, etc., it's very difficult that anyone around me can trigger me to that point. Now, I do have PTSD. It's not impossible, because a condition like that is a little bit kind of unstable, because you don't know what's going to trigger you. But understanding projections takes a lot of weight out of my shoulders, because I don't have to react to a projection. I just have to ignore it and keep on walking. I don't have to engage because I understand where I'm standing. So that helps me a lot also with PTSD. Boundaries versus collapse. I used to say this is my boundary, but then have a very forgiveful heart and think the best out of everyone. And the majority of the time, people will take advantage of that and take my kindness as a weakness. So it's not that I was expecting to be treated like that, but I didn't know that boundaries are not only placed by me, but by others. So when I started reacting to the commotion of the emotions, obviously people started putting boundaries with me that I didn't understand, because I never experienced that type of boundaries in my life. So it will feel like a sense of abandonment, but at the end of the road, it's not. I have free will choices will allow me to set a boundary regardless of who the righteous is beside me. I don't care the hierarchy they think they play, either if it is a pastor, it is my parents, or whoever it is. Not because I disrespect them, is because my boundaries is the only thing that is actually gonna allow me to live in alignment and allow me to live a righteous life that knows no wavering. So your faith cannot waver based on your inability to control or collapse in front of circumstances. So if you stand in the victim standpoint, that means that you are not sovereign in the path of spirituality or even in Christian or Catholic faith, because you have to understand that in order to call yourself either a Christian or a good Samaritan. So when I saw that I wasn't there, I felt not ashamed with the rest of the world, ashamed with myself. And it took me more to forgive myself than to forgive others, because that's my ability. My heart is so big that I learned to forgive others based on projections, but I was not allowing myself to forgive myself. And that one was the strongest part, because we don't understand how placing ourselves in places where we actually are disrespected, etc., will come into play when you understand projections and you say, wow, I reacted so badly and I didn't have to. First of all, you feel like a little kid grounded. Second of all, you start laughing about how immature we humans are. And third, you're like, you may think, I don't want to show my face. I never thought like that. I didn't care. And not because I am prideful or egotistical. I didn't care because Abba, from the beginning, told me, you're gonna write as it goes, and we're gonna actually make it the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason why he wanted it that way is because there's a lot of people hiding their faces, ashamed of being humans, of not understanding and being ignorant of spirituality. And that's what he wants to say. The reason why he's always having an open heart and open arms is because he understands that. But that doesn't mean that when you know the truth, you're just going to do whatever you want because you think you're going to be forgiven all the time, because that's where the wrath of Abba comes in and pushes you down the sleigh, pushes you down the hill, so you actually lose everything that was holding you into the materialism of the world, the flesh aspect of the world. So actually, you can heal yourself and start building abundance from scratch, from good faith, from good heart, from good alignment with yourself. You cannot give what you don't have. Therefore, if you don't understand unconditional love, you cannot receive it or give it. And that is very important, because love is a secondhand emotion. And Tina Turner was so right about it, because of the following: you don't need to force anyone into being what you want them to be. If you're doing that, it means that you are not a safe person for anyone, because you don't have security or autonomy on yourself or confidence or boundaries. It means that you're still people pleasing others and you live by the expectations of another. So if you don't have the freedom in life and you don't feel free for yourself, then anything that anyone says is going to deviate you from either trusting your partner or trusting the experience. And it could come from even your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your friend. And it will hurt you because your heart is telling you, this is the way I want to go because this is what I feel I want to experience. But everybody around you is telling you, no, do not do that because it's not good for your finances. It's not good for your career. It's not good for how people are going to see you. It's not good for X. It's not good for Y. It's not good for you. People know how to manipulate your mind into stopping you from doing what Abba wants you to do. That's why they say many are called and few are chosen. When you are chosen, you will go to the maze like I went through, and you will get out of it because he will make sure he gets you out of the pit. But you cannot get out of the pit feeling a victim, because you have to understand who you are so you can get yourself out of the pit. And he will extend his arms down and let you hold to him if you understand the truth. And the Bible is a blueprint about it. Yet a lot of people read the Bible like a repetitive book, and they don't understand the true unconditional love that is there because the church has indoctrinated us to not understand it. And that's why the church is not teaching with love. They're teaching with greed. They're teaching with indoctrination. And they don't do it because they're mean. They do it because they believe someone that indoctrinated them. And for them, that is the one and only truth. That's why they want to impose it on you. I was there, and I really was ashamed of being there. And the reason why I was ashamed was because my heart told me different. Every time I was in a temple, my heart told me different. I didn't fit in. It was not right. What they were saying contradicted the true unconditional love that I was reading in the Bible, in between the lines of what Abba was showing me. That's why we're here. All right. So the biblical metaphor on this one is gird up the loins of your mind, 1 Peter 1. This gate is the girding place, the strengthening of inner resolve and identity. You cannot marry yourself with a false identity. Why? If you marry yourself with an identity created by what you do for a living or who you are in the eyes of others, you're losing yourself. And that is literally selling your soul, because you're not resolving the matters inside of you for you to understand that your identity doesn't fall for the kind of job that you do. It falls into the type of person that you become. So if people can literally sway you, then you're not sovereign and you're not living in freedom, and you still shackled and chained. And that's the truth that Jesus came to teach us, or whoever wrote the Bible came to express in that book. And in order to understand it, you cannot stop in just reading and reading and reading and reading and memorizing, because what you're doing is you're converting the word of Jesus, the parables and the scriptures, into a double-edged sword, which is what was said in there that the old religious people were doing and that Jesus came to change that. Yet the ones that crucify him, right, were the ones that made sure that the church continued to teach false hopes, false faith, false love with indoctrination, because it's a control. It's a way to maintain people asleep. It's a way to maintain people away from finding themselves and not become consumers of the lies. The navel gate. Lineage and inheritance. Emotional patterns, belonging versus alienation. Ancestral memory, which is in your DNA and can be awakened at any moment whenever you stop feeling sad for yourself and do what your heart is asking you to do. Ancestral memory versus inherited feel. Another thing, when you actually are depressed or anxious, it's because your soul is telling you you're not following his guidance. Whenever you feel disaligned or bothered by anything in the world, is because you're not following your true purpose and your path. And you have a nudge, and you probably know it may be painting, it may be singing, it may be writing, it may be doing what I'm doing right now. And your heart is going to let you know, and your circumstances all around you are going to tell you you're not walking in the light. You're not doing what you're meant to do. Because if you sign a contract of what you were supposed to do here, and you keep on regretting every experience that you go through, that means that you're not going to open your heart to understand the lessons so you can actually stop the cycle. And you're going to be in that cycle forever. So it's very important that you understand this. Again, if you guys have questions, shoot them out there. I'll do my best to try to help you. Obviously, not me, but Abba. I will ask him everything I know because of him. Other thing that a lot of people tell me I'm an old soul because there are things that may not sound normal to people that I can actually feel with vibrations and energies. Therefore, I know what I know, and I'm not going to hide away from what I know just because someone gets bothered about what I know of their energies. So, yep. Okay, so the navel gate, lineage and inheritance, belonging versus alienation, ancestral memory versus inherited fear, identity versus fragmentation. Belonging means not that you're accepted by another. Belonging means is that you understand that you are perfectly imperfect. You are true unconditional love. And when someone alienates you from experiencing something, it's not because of you, it's because of them. So why are you gonna feel bad for not being enough for someone else? That means your ego wants that specific person. You don't care how it comes. You don't care if you have to sacrifice yourself because you're doing it for love. What love? If you don't love yourself, there's no love. There's just sacrifice. And that is the lie that has been sold to all of us. There's no need to sacrifice, because when you belong to yourself and you become sovereign in the truth, nobody will alienate you, because you're not going to even feel the alienation because of the following. You know where you fit and you know where you don't. So if the table that they are actually eating at is not a table where you are not invited, it's because there is another table that is even 20 times better than that one that's going to open for you. But if you don't release that bad table, how is Abba going to set the real table for you? Just ask yourself that question. Why are you trying to force yourself to fit in a place where they're rejecting you? There is a reason why they reject you, because they probably have an appearance that they have to uphold to, because probably they cannot be true to themselves. And I'm not blaming anyone for it. We all have done that in life at any point in our lives. And that's why we always overextend ourselves in order to fit in, because we think we're different. And I had that stigma for a long time based on my spiritual abilities, my prophetic dreams, my visions, and things that I know that other people don't know. Because I always try to fit in, and I deem down my light, I deem down my knowledge, I deem down my wisdom just to be part of something. Because every time I would open my mouth and say something spiritual, people will push me away because they didn't understand what I was talking about. So it comes to mind that as of right now, it's not that I'm careless of another, is that I know what energy is the only energy that I can accept in my life. And if it doesn't vibrate that way, I cannot call it true unconditional love. I will call it just a regular superficial interaction. So it's very important that you understand that sense of belonging does not at all, has to be attached to anyone. It's you. You have to learn to accept who you are, look in your shadows and see what you have to transform, then transmute that energy and start living your life instead of letting life live you. Ancestral memory versus inherited fear. If you look at old ancient books like the Book of Ma'at, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, if you look at the Diamond Sutra, if you look at all these amazing books that exist that are actually relics and are now so easy to find anywhere, Pistis Sophia, anything like that, and you get out of indoctrination, you're gonna lose all your fears. And I promise you this. You are gonna lose all your fears. And the reason why you're gonna lose your fears is because you're gonna understand you don't have to fear anything. When you act correctly, you don't have to fear anything. When you do what your heart is calling you to do, you don't have to fear anything or anyone, because you're protected automatically, because you're being righteous. And being righteous doesn't mean being perfect. It means that your morality, your standards, and your integrity is not moved to fit in or let's say, please anyone. So it's very important that you understand all of this for this year. Very important. Identity versus fragmentation. Every time we went through an experience in life that we didn't heal, we leave a part of our souls behind. If you don't collect the parts of that soul and you are whole, you're always going to experience broken relationships. So it's very important that you stop the fragmentation of your soul. It's very important that you find your identity. It's very important so you can continue without being fragmented. Biblical metaphor for that: before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Jeremiah 1. The navel is the remembrance portal, where lineage, identity, and divine knowing meet. The sacral gate, desire and creative flow, emotional patterns, pleasure versus guilt, creativity versus stagnation, emotional flow versus suppression. It is not that you cannot have pleasure. is that they taught you to be guilty of it. But pleasure with many people puts you in a very bad spiritual space because your body gets filled with parasites, spiritual and bodily. Therefore, it gets you unaligned. That's why the spiritual aspect of it states that you are sovereign when you actually can commit to another person and not be hopping scotch everywhere around. The reason why is you have the right to feel pleasure in a sound mind without guilt and with a destined partner, which what the church, I think it calls your divine counterpart. No, that's spiritual divine counterpart, and the church call it your whatever husband. I forgot. Yeah, whatever husband. Creativity versus stagnation. If you are hopping scotch from bed to bed, those parasites will take the creativity of you. And there are spiritual parasites as well as there are psychic parasites. And trust me, they came and they did not conquer. Nope, not at all. If you know, you know, and life is beautiful because Abba just hits a boomerang with those people. Creativity versus stagnation. When you feel stagnant is because you either are in a spiritual battle where something is taking hold of your creativity based on the fact that that's how they live. They're parasites that live from your sacral energy. So if your sacral gate is closed, you're not going to be able to be created. If it is drained by a parasite, you're not going to be able to be creative. You're going to be in stagnation. And I was in stagnation for a while, so I do understand exactly what was done. Emotional flow versus suppression. When you suppress yourself from speaking about your emotions, you're not living. You're a boiling water. And in this year, the fire of yang is coming heavy. So you need to allow your emotions to flow. If you suppress your emotions in the fire horse year, you're going to have a lot of diseases. And that's going to be detrimental to not only your body, but also your way of living. Biblical metaphor, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. John 7. The gate governs the living waters. Emotional and creative movement. So when the Bible speaks about water and how the water needs to be clear, how the water needs to be blah, 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 and flow, 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 it's talking about emotional maturity and creativity. If the water doesn't flow, then there is no creativity. And I once became the muse of many that try to drain my energy. And unfortunately, what goes around comes around, not because I say it, is because it's the true fact of cause and effect. Number 8, the root gate, safety and embodiment, emotional patterns, safety versus hypervigilance, groundedness versus disassociation, trust versus fear of collapse. Simple. You don't need anyone to feel safe about yourself. Because if you need somebody to feel safe on your own, you're always going to be hypervigilant on what's going to go wrong. Been there, done that. When you feel safety about yourself is because you healed your inner child wounds and you understand the masculine and feminine energies. And you don't leave from the wound, you leave from an open heart. The groundedness is the only way that you can actually not be in a fantasy world or in a world of only hope and faith, without actually actioning into getting what you desire, without stepping over the free will of another. If you're not doing that, you're in dissonance and disassociation. And trust me, that is the worst space to be. Trust versus fear of collapse. If you don't trust the experiences because you're scared, but if you speak about your emotions and your fears to a person that is upholding you, not because you want them to feel pity for you, then you're never going to collapse. Because if you're speaking to a person that is compassionate, if you understand energies and projections, then you're gonna see who is gaslighting you and who's truly present in your life, which otherwise you cannot see. Trust me, been there, done that. Biblical metaphor: he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. Again, what was the water? The water was the emotions and the creativity movement. So the root is the tree foundation, stability, nourishment, and embodied presence. If you're not present in a relationship, there is no relationship. If you're not committed, there is no relationship. If you are indecisive, you don't want a relationship. Therefore, you need to make up your mind and know what you want and not be scared of experiencing it. Same goes with unconditional love. You cannot condition love, because anytime you condition love, you're not loving. You're just imposing your persona. You're imposing your inability to truly love. 1111 in the moment that I said that. That was so funny. The palm portals, giving and transmission. Emotional patterns: generosity versus depletion, service versus martyrdom, and action versus paralysis. I was in all of those. I thought that I was being generous and I was getting depleted. I thought I was being of service, yet I was defending myself and sounded as a martyr. Action versus paralysis. I thought and spoke about all the things I wanted to do, but I was so drained because of the noise and the maze that I got paralyzed. And that's because the emotions were not flowing as water, and my creativity was being snatched, literally snatched, with whatever fire magic, mirror magic, and other types of magic that these people were doing. Anywho, biblical metaphor: and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. How is Jesus able to vibrate in such a higher resonance that he can just impose his hand and heal another? It's because he's sovereign and he understands projections and he doesn't take anything personal, yet he sees if someone is honest and truthful, because he has the gift of discernment that we all can have. Because as he said, ye of little faith, if you know that you can do even greater things than what I can do, right? So that's a story for you to understand. The food portals: direction and grounding. Emotional patterns: direction versus confusion, movement versus stagnation, stability versus avoidance. So if you see these other portals, right, are also in resonance with the portals above, and you know that your feet is actually the window to your body. Whenever you understand acupuncture, you're gonna understand that any type of foot has different segments and places where it can tell you what organ in your body's not working. If you don't know about it, read about it, and then you'll know what organs you need to cleanse with the diet that Abba placed in the post or community part. Biblical metaphor: the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37. The feet are the ordering portals where path and purpose meet the earth. You see, when you live doing good, your purpose is going to reap the fruits of the abundance of Abba. If not, you're gonna be grinding 10K and your fruits are not gonna prosper because they're gonna be wavered. They're gonna be actually not flow currency of water. They're gonna be actually constricted currency. And that can cause stagnation as well. The spine, the vertical portal, emotional patterns, alignment versus collapse. Again, you see the spine also is like another of the chakras on top, right? Resilience versus overwhelm, integrity versus fragmentation. So I'm a very resilient person, not because I love to be in bad circumstances, is because Abba has taught me that as a healer, there are things that I need to understand and experiences that I need to go through in order to understand how to transform energy so I can actually help the pilgrims in through the journey of ascension. Unfortunately, a person that does not believe in themselves has to start to learn to believe in themselves in order for them to acknowledge that they could receive unconditional love. Integrity versus fragmentation, we already spoke about it in the top, so you can go back in the video. Biblical metaphor, who is that cometh up from the wilderness, leaning upon her beloved? Song of Solomon 8. Song of Solomon is a true story of the twin flame journey that is not what people think it is. A twin flame journey means you are divided in two sections. You have a yin and a yang, you have light and dark, you have masculine and feminine energies. And the reason why it has become so popular is because they are teaching people how to fix their masculine and feminine energies and heal their inner child wounds. Therefore, voila, a lover appears. Somebody that is aligned or not. And then the thing with this is that, yes, there are true twin flames because it's one divided. And if you understand consciousness and you understand creation, we are all parts, specks of the cosmos. Therefore, yes, you once were a full atom or a full concentration that was broken in pieces, and we all are those pieces. Therefore, there will be a same or similar piece of who you are, probably going around the different dimensions. But if that person is not in this 3 dimension, then you're always going to be pursuing the twin flame journey and not understand that your twin flame is not going to be here. And you're going to always sit down and wait for that twin flame when your job is to heal yourself so you can live with an open heart. And that's why they invented the thing about this. If you and your twin flame cannot be together because whatever one of them didn't do the journey, blah 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 blah, you'll get a soulmate. And that's not the truth. The truth is that not everybody has the resilience they need because they get overwhelmed. Like in my case, I used to get very overwhelmed in my condition, but now that Ava explained this to me, I don't have that overwhelm in my life. It happens and I experience this in different circumstances, but I can allow it to be released, transformed, and transmuted so I can continue my life. So it's something very important that you understand how this works, because Song of Solomon does speak about how to allow yourself to let go of what doesn't serve you, regardless if it is a partner, a friend, or family. It doesn't matter, because you need to understand how sovereign you could be, how independent, self-reliant, and loving if you actually stop allowing others to make you conform with what they think is right, when probably is totally wrong. And that's the only way you can truly experience true love. The rest is just conditioned love, and nobody that has not experienced it will understand it. The back of the heart, hidden grief and sensitivity, emotional patterns, unprocessed grief. when somebody passes away, and I passed through this when my dad died, I wasn't ready to let him go because I thought that I was going to be the one that that daddy was going to walk me down the aisle. And here I am, 52. I never got married because I did not believe in love, because I understood it was conditioned everywhere. And then Abba teaches me the reason why I didn't believe in it was because of the dissonance of the indoctrination. So obviously, when I understand this, I let go of the need of that little girl waiting for daddy to do X and Y, because that's what the world told you to do, right? The world told you that, for an example, in your graduation day, your dad will walk you, or your mama will walk you, or in your wedding, your daddy will walk you, and whatever it is, or your mom will walk you, right? And then when that person is missing, our ego is telling us, but that's what the world told us. And we're not letting them go because I want them here. But we're not understanding that love, as people, are energetic beings, that they actually never leave. They just transform. And if we don't allow them to go, is because we have attachments. And this is not to be bad-hearted person. We're still gonna not resent. We're still gonna feel the void that a person leaves, but instead of holding on to them and not allowing their energy to be transmuted and move forward with love, we're gonna say that we understand that they have another journey. And then we have to learn in our journey how to allow them to go. So with love, they can go and you don't feel the need of attaching yourself to the ego aspect of wanting them with you. It's very difficult because obviously, as a mother, I guess the biggest pain is to lose a kid. It's not like a kid losing a mother. They already know the mother is of a higher age. But when it comes backwards, it's more difficult because you wanted your kids to be raised by you. You wanted that experience. Yet along in the experience, that person came to show you how to love. And then if you revert that with resentment and you don't grieve it and you don't allow that beautiful being that came to teach you how to love to go with love, then you're not closing a cycle that needs to be closed so you can open a new one. And these are things that are very hard when we hear them because it sounds heartless, but it's not. It's full of love and compassion, not only for those that leave, but for yourself. And trust me that I was there for a while. Sensitivity to rejection. When you feel sensible because someone rejects you, is because you believe that you're entitled to be accepted by anyone. And when you believe that you're entitled of being accepted by anyone, is because you're speaking from your ego, and because you probably have not understood that not everybody will allow you to do the things that you used to do unless you actually act correctly. So everybody feels rejection or fear of the rejection because they don't feel enough for another. And if you don't feel that you're enough, and you're never gonna actually fulfill your experiences, because it's not that you have to fully heal, it's that you have to know how to be vulnerable and how to communicate your fears to the right people so they can actually work with you into accepting and understanding how unconditional the love can be if you're just honest. But it is so difficult in this world to be honest. Everybody's living through lies, through appearances. They're not living, they're conditioned. So it's very difficult to find a person that can actually have a deep conversation about true emotions through empathy without feeling, oh, but what are people gonna say if you leave me, then you're gonna talk smack about me. You're the one that is not opening the communication for that relationship or the experience to unfold. You're the one that are actually putting a barrier. It's not the same when people say things in order to be accepted than when people are fully honest and true about themselves. Now, be careful. If you tell something to anyone and they use it against you, that person is gaslighting you so they can actually make you feel overwhelmed and create a codependency for them that was not supposed to be there for to begin with. And the reason why is because they're literally in purpose gonna try to reject you so you feel inclined to persecute them. And that's how they literally take all your energy and your creativity from you. So you got to be very careful. Compassion fatigue. Being compassionate is not sacrificing for another. Compassionate is understanding that everybody goes through dark moments in life. But if you can see the spirits that are holding them back, if you to see what they're going through and see it with compassion, you will extend a helping hand if you see there is a will of that person to receive that. But if there's no will from that person to receive that, it's not your job to make it easier for them to carry it. Because the reason why they carry it is because they're in denial. And when they're in denial, they're not healing. And when they're not healing, it's going to go from one addiction to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, and it becomes a cycle. And it happens, and I'm going to tell you a story very quick. When I was young, I didn't want to be in my home because I didn't feel that my home was not safe, but a place where I was welcome. So I decided to take it upon myself to party every day. Just because I didn't want to be at home because it was uncomfortable to be having to have a fight every day. So in my head, I wanted that if I had a relationship, I was going to have a relationship where I could be the sounding board of that home and the peaceful one. So I overgave my compassion to the fatigue of others and ended up bearing crosses that weren't mine. So that is part of what you have to understand. Compassion is not a sacrifice. Compassion is, I see you through the eyes of God. I see you through my heart in openness. But if you're going to actually drown me in your misery, then I'm not going to be your company. Because misery wants company because they want someone to actually feel the same way they feel. And then that's going to circle you into negativity. And I didn't know how to put that boundary because I thought being compassionate was sitting there, having a listening ear and hearing all of the complaints until I started literally pouring out the same type of energy. When I saw myself being the one that complains, when I saw myself being the one that wasn't satisfied, when I saw myself being the one that was not grateful as I always was in my life for everything I had, even a piece of bread, I'm like, no, that's not me. And then at that moment, I understood my compassion became a weapon for the person that understood that I had a compassionate heart. So in that moment, in order to take my power back, I had to understand why I was overgiving. And then I realized that part of the indoctrination that I had was that I should be a sacrifice, when we don't need to sacrifice for anything or anyone. We can compassionately donate, help, extend our help. But in the moment that person actually takes, instead of reciprocating, you need to put a boundary and walk away for your own good. Not because you're prideful, not because you're egotistical, just because you respect yourself and you understand energies, and you know that if you don't leave, you're gonna be depleted. And fatigue in this year, no. Why? Because the fire horse comes to move the circulation and heat it up. And if you're fatigued, you're going to be triple overburned, because that yang energy is going to overburn you regardless. So that's why you need to find a balance. Biblical metaphor: the Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart. Psalm 34. This portal holds the broken heart, the unseen ache that longs for nearness. The gut, brain portal. This is actually the one that has the most parasites of them all. And the one that you need to actually be able to discern, because your instincts go based on your ability to have this gut totally cleansed. Why? Because if not, then vagus nerve is gonna trigger you into have emotional indigestion, and you're gonna be anxious, overthinking, and and emotional digestion is gonna be not allowing you to go to the bathroom, and a lot of stuff that is not good, because those toxin gets blocked in your body and become toxins that can actually give you fever and other stuff that could lead you to go to a hospital. So anxiety versus intuition. Intuition depends on a clean gut. If you don't have intuition, it's because your gut is totally polluted. Brain portal, anxiety versus intuition, overthinking versus inner knowing. So when you know, you know. And if you know that somebody has a weird energy, then you do not need to engage with that energy. Just let it go. Stop the habit of wanting to engage. That's your inner knowing saying, that's not the way. And you still want to go that way. And we're so stubborn. We humans are stubborn because we're indoctrinated in so many bad ways that we keep on going and hitting ourselves with the same wall. Emotional digestion versus overwhelmed. So if you're able to digest your foods and process them correctly, you're not going to overwhelm your body, and that actually can clear your mind as well. So you got to be very careful with what you're eating, and you want to have good gut health. Eat kimchi, kefir or whatever, something that is like yogurt but it's not yogurt. Kimchi, sauerkraut. Kombucha is good too if you can drink it. Not everybody can. I think it has alcohol, so if you have any addictions, you cannot drink it. Not all of them have, but the majority have, because it's fermented. So I would stick to kimchi and sauerkraut to be in the safe side. And there's 20,000 recipes that you can do with that are healthy and not full of what? Ketchup, mayo, and mustard, right? Like everybody's used to eat sauerkraut with the with the with the hot dogs. But no. Sauerkraut, you can mix it with your salad and give it that tangly sensation or whatever. Your kimchi, you can mix it with your rice and it tastes good. It's just depending, right? Or with your veggies and it will taste cool too. His bowels, check this out. Genesis said his bowels yearned upon his brother. Instinctual discernment and intuition come from a clear gut. Point blank. You're not going to understand your brother if you don't understand or have a clean body. Now, if you work the psyche on it and you work outside of indoctrination, then you're going to have that compassion. And when you have that compassion, you start opening your heart. And when you start opening your heart, you start loving yourself. And at that point, you're going to start eating healthy because you love yourself enough to do so. And trust me, I've been chubby all of my life. The majority of the time is because of the cortisol. I wasn't aware that I had PTSD until recently. Therefore, I was always gaining weight because of stress. All right. So the biblical language, the bowels are the seat of deep compassion and instinct, just like I just mentioned. The womb gate, creation and deep memory. And this is for the woman, okay? But the man can understand and learn from this. The womb actually is the creation. It's what brings babies to this world. It's what it's a difference between creativity versus depletion, cycles versus rigidity, deep intuition versus emotional amnesia. Emotional amnesia means that you forgot what was wrong in the relationship or in your experience because you traumatize yourself into the point of feeling or creating feelings that were illusions for another being. Therefore, the deep intuition of a woman, and I always said this, if you know, you know. There is no way a woman doesn't know when her partner is being deceitful. It is a rule of thumb because it's part of what we come with. It's like part of our DNA, point blank. Now, the difference between a healthy relationship and a woman with this intuition and unhealthy is that if you're not aware that you have conditions that will trigger your nerves or whatever, you can think that the deep intuition you have has to put you in alert mode. And I learned that with PTSD, and I think bipolar disorder also has it. And I think that the reason why people with HDHD, not mild but severe, also run away because they're too honest and too blunt for people to understand them, and they always get rejected because people are like, you clutch my pearls, and run away. But these people are the most intelligent people in the whole wide world, and I love to have amazing combos with them because they will see what you don't see, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful to have someone that can actually be so intelligent just share their knowledge with you. But yeah, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. Psalm 139. The womb is the mystery portal, creation, gestation, and the divine covering. That's why they say that behind a good man or a prosperous man, there's always a good woman. And we're not saying that it's a mandatory rule, but it is a given. When people get in partnerships and they're aligned, that's why they co-create together, because they use the womb's energy of the creativity and the security of the masculine to actually create abundant and generational wealth. The auric field portal, sensitivity and boundary. Emotional patterns, sensitivity versus overwhelm, openness versus intrusion, intuition versus fear. Biblical metaphor, as the mountains are round about Jerusalem. If you don't want to understand Jerusalem, then don't find it. But if you want to understand them, if you see what Jerusalem meaning in Aramaic is, Jerusalem is foundation of peace, of city of peace. Okay, it's not what you're being indoctrinated to think that it's just a place. No, and the Bible is talking about the human body, it's talking about you, it's talking about how you can be sovereign. Therefore, you have to understand, as the mountain are round about the city of peace, with this you when you are sovereign, right? So the Lord is round about his people. So in the moment that you find your sovereignty and you understand humanity, projection, spirits, your body, the food, and how it all interacts, you're literally freeing yourself from living in the matrix. And things that once mattered to you will stop mattering anymore. And you're going to start living for yourself. Why? Because in that moment, you are in communion with Abba, and you're going to be able to create from grasping that muse from the ethers. It's just beautiful. I'm telling you, it's the most beautiful thing in the world that Abba has taught me. Psalm 125, the field is okay, so that was in Psalm 125, what I just read. The field is the encircling, the protective, the permeable boundary of presence. So I know that what I speak here, it's different than what probably many are used to listen to. If you find or want to Google this, the fire hose meaning in Chinese traditional medicine, please do so, and then compare it to the Bible and your body, and you're gonna find what we just spoke about today. I have the benefit that Abba is the one that gives me the nudges of what he wants me to speak about. Today, he wanted me to speak about all the energetic portals of the body. And then after I saw them, I said, okay, these are the chakras. When I came down, I'm like, what? You're talking about the foot, you're talking about the palms. Actually, I skipped the palms. The palm portal, portals of giving, healing, transmitting energy, somatically linked to nerve endings, fascia, meridians, psyche, generosity, action, creativity. Something that I want to tell you, whenever you pray and whenever you meditate and whenever you want to wind down, always put your left hand in your heart and your right hand facing up to receive. Why the heart and the palm up? Because the palm is what actually gives and receives. Is the that, and the vagus nerve is a transmitter. That's why your body needs to be cleansed, so the vagus nerve is not going all over the place and can act as an antenna, because it has a lot of hairs that actually are the ones that communicate with your nerves and are the ones that are going to allow you to have a higher frequency. Therefore, when you put one hand in your heart, whatever you're receiving with the other hand is automatically coming to your heart, and you're going to have clarity and peace of mind, and you're going to be able to wind down, and you're going to be able to truly meditate. And if you have a question, don't feel scared of asking Abba, but be able to listen. And if you want to listen, you have to open your heart. You cannot say, oh, I believe you are going to answer me. And then if the answer didn't come in 5 minutes, you're going to say, oh, this doesn't work. No, that's not how it works. I was gonna talk to you in the weirdest ways. He can show you an animal, a number. He can show you a passage of the Bible. He can make you remember something that happened in the past so you can take accountability. He can tell you so many things if you just allow him to touch you. But it's a free will choice. And as I say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but it's the same. The reason why Jesus is the way to the Father is not because Jesus is gonna be the Savior that's gonna come and rescue you in the future. Is because he already died for you to understand why he walked this path, and it's in the Bible, and you have to decipher it on your own by always asking the Holy Spirit to be present when you actually read this, and not indoctrinate yourself into what you're being told. You're not here to be told something, and I tell everyone, please don't believe me, believe yourself. You have discernment, you have powers of the spirit, you have intuition. So if your heart is telling you, go this way, stop fighting your heart. I fought it for too long, and it never got me anywhere. But when you stop fighting your heart, Abba speaks to your heart, and he softens your edges, and he allows you to have the tools that you need to have so you can regain your confidence and be sovereign. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So I hope you liked it. If you liked it, you can share it, you can subscribe to the channel. I never say when I'm gonna pop up. I pop up whenever I want. As of right now, we're doing black screen because Abba asked me to protect myself because of some covenant that's doing stupid things. But yeah, protect yourself. I'll see you guys soon. Eye to eye. Bye bye.